You're live. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is B. Tatum. I mean, I'm sure y'all know me. This is my channel. But I want to talk about some of the issues that have been going on, some of the issues with Mr. George Foley. What is it? George, what is it? Floyd. I always kind of say Foley. George Floyd. Let's talk about what's going on with racism in America. We're going to talk about Joe Biden. And I want everybody to give their take on it. So I would ask everybody that's watching the live stream to please wait for the super chats. We'll have a Q&A section at the very end. So if you want a super chat, just wait to the end. Super chat some questions. You can address it to either person on the panel here, and we'll answer it rapid fire if we can. So if you want to donate, you can super chat during the segment if you like. So I'm going to start with you, ABL. Just introduce yourself, man. Give my audience a quick summary. I'm pretty sure most people know who you are. But just give them a quick synopsis of who you are, and we'll get started after that.
All right. Well, hey, glad to be here. Like Brandon said, I'm ABL. I'm a conservative guy. Been conservative for a little while. I'm out here in Tennessee now. I had to escape Virginia. I had to escape Governor Blackface, Governor Northam. So I'm out here in the South, man, loving it. Ain't no quarantine going on. And I'm here to talk the truth today about what's happening in the world.
All right. Damani, give them a little summary about you, man.
Yes, sir. Howdy, y'all. My name is Damani Felder. I'm here in Dallas, Texas. Was raised by conservatives, had a little bit of a ideological journey that started with the Trayvon Martin situation, and now I'm just here to share my piece and hopefully wake people up about the things that matter. Social media. I'm the Damani Felder on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm at the Wright Brothers.
Awesome, Derrick. What's up, man? Tell the people who you are.
What's good? What's good? My name is Derrick Gradenigo. For those who don't know me. Born on the West Coast, spent time in the South, in Texas and Florida, and just part of this movement. Consider myself a hardcore Trumpist. I believe in what the president is doing, and I consider myself a master strategist. And hopefully today we can get into some of the overground stuff that we see and some of the underground stuff that we see as well, as far as what we need to do as a culture and as a people to go ahead and push to the next level. And that includes the positive stuff and those who are hating on some of us in the room and how we could push this thing forward to November and beyond. You know what I mean?
For sure. Thanks, Derrick. Thank y'all for the introduction. So we're going to get right into this, man. I saw the video of George Floyd. I think everybody's seen that video. If you haven't seen it, you must be sleeping under a rock. But I think as a former police officer that it was a terrible behavior by the police officer. It seemed that he had no mercy. I don't know if he's just brain dead or what, but if you got a man on the ground saying he can't breathe, you got to at least fake like you're rendering aid to the individual. I know that a lot of people fake like they can't breathe or medical complications, but you at least have to show some effort just in case they really having medical complications. So I'm gonna start with you, ABL. Man, what's your take on this police incident? I saw your video that you put out. I mean, it was good, dude. I almost cut it and put that part out about the rioting. But give us your take on the ABL. What you think about what happened in Minneapolis?
Man, the whole thing was crazy. I mean, I understand you try to get somebody down or make sure everything is calm, make sure everything is good. I think I saw your video before, you talking about how you have multiple cops on one person to reduce the injury to the individual. Because if you got one-on-one, that could result in a gun coming out, baton coming out, they getting beat because it's hard to fight one-on-one sometimes. If a guy's on drugs, he could overpower you, take your gun. So you have multiple officers on one person. However, if this guy has his nose bleeding, he's urinating, he's in distress, people are saying, hey, he can't breathe, something's wrong, you got to check on the man. Just out of humanity. That's the main thing. For humanity's sake, check on this man and see what's going on. So for that, I think he was way over the line of just trying to do his job. He neglected his humanity at that particular point in time. So for that, I think there would be some consequence. Now, whether it's criminal, murder, manslaughter, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in that particular area to decide that, but it definitely will be a consequence, civil or criminal. Something's going to happen, and it's most certainly deserved.
Yeah, I agree, ABL. I think that there's going to be an arrest, at least of the guy that's on top of him, because arrest doesn't mean that you're guilty. It just means that the police officers or the district attorney decides that there's probable cause to believe that you committed a crime. You have your day in court to prove your guilt or innocence. Damani, what's your take on it, man? I know that you're a very intelligent man. You normally have a very interesting perspective similar to mine, but a little different. I sometimes I think it's more of a educational perspective. So what's your take on what happened in Minneapolis?
Yeah, no, it's very sad to see whenever a life is taken. You know, as a conservative, I believe all lives matter. I also believe in supporting our law enforcement officers. And what I find most tragic about this is that the actions of this one police officer, or these 4 police officers who were engaged in this very unnecessary exercise of brute force, is going to result in more people viewing those who do wear the badge, who are good people, in a negative light. So, you know, obviously there's more information that's going to come out. Obviously, we don't know all the details yet. We do know enough sometimes, in those optics of the laissez-faire attitude of that cop who continued to have his knee on the carotid artery of George Floyd. It was just, it was incomprehensible to me that someone could possibly be so callous to allow someone to expire directly under them. And I'm hopeful, and I'm very heartened by the fact that a lot of people who ostensibly might be on both sides of the situation are coming together over this and realizing what it is. Wrong is wrong. We may have our political disagreements, but we, at the end of the day, we know what is right and what is wrong. So I am hopeful that justice will be served. And I think that the best thing that we can do as people right now is to believe fully in the justice system itself, and not fall prey or become susceptible to the outrage mob and preemptive judgment in this case.
Yeah, man, I agree 100%. Damani, people are saying that your volume is low. Oh. So if you can raise it up a little bit, because you had a lot of good things to say. Derrick, my brother, we talked on the phone about this.
Right.
I think yesterday.
Right.
Day before yesterday. And you gave a very interesting perspective. So, Derrick, I want you to give your quick analysis on what happened in Minneapolis. And then I'm going to have the panel talk about some of the racial components to this, and then also the rioting. So, Derrick, give me your preliminary take on this.
I mean, my take on it, like I said, I'm a strategist, so I'm looking at everything from a bird's eye view, the whole picture of what's going on. So we understand first and foremost that, let's just be honest, this is trash. This sucks. Like, what happened is trash. It sucks. It shouldn't happen in today's society, but it did. From an overview, as we look at this, we say to ourselves, okay, whether this was training, if this was just some cop that just went, rogue training day and he was just whatever, we're watching this and we're getting the live footage. It's my job, though, as a strategist to say, what else is going on in society? Like, what else is going on? We understand this is wrong. This person, he needs to be, prosecuted to the fullest extent. But right now we look at it and say, what is the media doing here? We understand, we arrest these guys, we put them for trial, the media starts stoking flames. That's where my concern comes in, because I'm the type of person, I say, I want equal energy for everything. You know what I mean? So when I see this brother die, I also heard, I don't know if you guys heard the footage of him talking about the young brothers. Did you hear the footage of him talking about the young brothers? And so when I look at that, my problem is, we understand this brother shouldn't have died. But for the media, I think now we have to look at it and say, what would that brother have wanted for the young brothers? Would he want the young brothers out here burning down buildings and hospitals and things of that nature? That's not what he was saying in his video. In his video, he was 100% saying, he has hope for the future, hope for the youngins, that they'll come up and, how do we progress out of bad situations and bad times? So again, one of the things that you'll hear people say when it comes to us a lot, they'll say, hey, look, well, y'all aren't slow singing and flower bringing and y'all aren't crying and y'all aren't whatever. A lot of us have been through death. You know what I'm saying? I've had personal family members shot, like straight up siblings shot, killed, murdered. We've been through death. We get messages from people in Chicago, other cities talking about deaths, and no one on the media is talking about it. So at a point we sit here and we say, yes, this brother died. This sucks. But how do we save the people tonight? So how do we save the people tomorrow? Because I got 10 more people getting killed tonight. So that's where I come across it. As far as what happened to him physically, it's horrendous. It's horrible. We hate to see it. But I just want to make sure that we also know that there's an element out here that's trying to play on our emotions. They're trying to play on our emotions. And we have to be very aware of that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, I just want to give a couple shout outs with the super chats. I'm not going to read them. Brady, thanks so much for the super chat. Stephanie, thank you so much for the super chat. And let's see. whoever else super chatted, thank you. I want you guys, I appreciate the donations. I want you guys to hold the super chats to the end because I'm not going to be able to read it. I want us to continue on the panel so we can have a good discussion. But at the end, I'm going to open up for Q&A. Y'all can ask questions through super chat, or you can ask questions in the comment section. So let's get into the next aspect of this, man. I think we all agree that the police behavior appeared, at least what everybody's seen on that video, it appeared to be poor behavior, resulting in a man's death. I think prosecution has come down the pipe. People are going to potentially go to jail. People were fired. The president of the United States, is having this investigated. I think justice is on pace to be served. But beyond that, we've seen protests that have gone on in Minneapolis that have been out of control, burning down. And ABL, I saw your video on this, dude. I thought it was great. And I want you to talk about the difference between what we've seen in Minneapolis and then your story in Virginia, where the Asian guy got killed for playing Pokemon Go. So we've seen people getting killed at this riot, looting session, businesses being tarnished, burned down to the ground, and police cars being damaged, police department facilities being damaged, which are all going to be paid for by taxpayer dollar. So we see the counterproductive behavior. So ABL, I want you to touch on this and let us know your thoughts on the rioting aspect of what's going on in Minneapolis.
Man, the riots are ridiculous. People talking about, oh, well, we're rioting because you guys don't feel our pain. You guys don't hear our pain. Well, what is a rioting going to actually accomplish? People say, well, the peaceful protests don't work, so we're going to resort to the violence. But the violence definitely doesn't work. You won't get anything accomplished that way because look at Ferguson, Missouri. Look at Baltimore, Maryland. Have they improved after the riots? I don't think so. I don't see any kind of just, metropolis sprouting out of these places. They're not improving. The riots do not help. All it does really is depress an already depressed area. We're talking about a lot of these low income areas, the Black, Hispanic, poor whites, etc. We need more investment, more money. But then when you go out here, riot, loot, protest, burn things down, all you do is just have dollars flow out of the community. People that might want to come to your community to invest, they say, nope, don't want to do that because it's dangerous. People want to tear stuff up. It's going to be sky high insurance. Why would I want to come there and invest my dollars to help these people? It doesn't make any sense. You're being counterproductive. And like I was saying in my video, if you want some justice, you got to go about it the right way. We have a system in place. Now, is it a perfect system? No, it's not. You're not going to find perfection on planet Earth. It's not a possible thing to have, but it is a system that works. Like I was saying in my video, you brought it up about the Chinese guy. There was a Chinese granddad, 60 years old or more. He was playing Pokemon Go with his grandkids. Now, that game, you got to be out and moving around or whatever. He was in his van at night driving around. I think he was in the parking lot of a rec center. So the security guard comes up to him, just a guard for that particular little community. He comes up to him and is trying to get him to get out of that parking lot. He's probably trespassing. Now, the granddad does not speak English at all. So it's miscommunication. So he's driving forward. The security guard reacts and shoots him through the window of his van. Now, after that happened, you had every Chinese person in the whole area come out every day to the courthouse, suit, tie. They had money, a lawyer, a spokesperson. They had a person in the media getting things done. Every single day they were there. Okay, they raised money. They had a memorial. At the end of it, that guy ended up getting 30 years in the penitentiary. That's how you get justice, how you get it done. It wasn't no rioting, not even any kind of protesting, just following the laws, doing things the right way, and applying pressure properly. The looting and the stealing and the shooting does not help anything at all.
I couldn't agree more. Maddie, thanks so much for the super chat. Let's see. Yogi Fish, thanks so much for the super chat. Again, thank you guys for the support. But make sure you save your super chats for the Q&A at the very end. Damani, what do you think about this protesting, man? We've seen people do this in Ferguson. They're doing it now, and it appears that justice is being served. It seems like it's going down matriculating down a path of this man getting justice from what happened to him. Why are people still coming out and protesting? What's your thoughts, Damani?
Well, this is not protesting. This is rioting, plain and simple. And what a lot of these people have seen right now is nothing more than an opportunity or a catalyst for them to go out and engage in unlawful behavior as a way to let out their pent-up aggression. And the real problem with that is when you have people who are going out and enacting this retribution in their eyes, what it does is it only hurts the people who are there. I saw a picture of someone who was there who had his shop boarded up, and on his shop he had a sign that said minority owned, as if that's going to be his get out of jail free card to keep people from going and looting in his business. It's a shame because this is counterproductive to the mission in general. Obviously, we want justice, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. And when you are going to go out and act in a way that honestly it has been called very stereotypical in the past, and then feed into and add further credence to that negative stereotype, no one wins in that case. Obviously, African Americans, we chafe whenever we are unilaterally painted with a broad brush. It's like we're all thugs, because we're not. That's not true. But then if you're going to go out and this is your initial first reaction is to engage in this behavior, what it does is it actually makes you take a step back from where you were before, because people are saying, oh, well, they're doing exactly what I thought they were going to do in the first place. So at the end of the day, we have to be better than this. We have to demonstrate that, yes, this is wrong. Yes, we can call it out, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do that. And two wrongs don't make a right.
100%. Derrick, what you got, brother?
Look, man, this is a tough one for me, man, because like I said, I'm more on the philosophical base, psychological base. And when I see actions like this, to me, it has leftist propaganda written all over it. If you look at some of these riots, you see a lot of white leftists in there, too, that are starting stuff and this, that, or the third. And so you almost have to go back to Kanye, and you hate to say it when Kanye is saying, look, a lot of white leftist America still have black folks mentally on the plantation. You can take them out off the plantation, but you can't take the plantation off of them. So at the end of the day, when these white folks trigger this behavior, they want this, because I promise you this is the thing. I promise you this. It's the same thing with Rodney King. If a lot of black Americans started to go into Beverly Hills with this, if they started to go into the rich neighborhoods, I promise you they could stop it. But they ain't stopping this. You know what I mean? They ain't stopping this. So the leftists know what they're doing. The whites that are planted in there, that's letting this go down and burning this. This ain't the fancy neighborhoods or whatever. Because I promise you, if they did that, they would stop it. They don't want it to stop. This is a plan. This is a plot. This is what they want to happen. They want black Americans to seem this way. They want black Americans to seem unruly. And like Damani says, there's a lot of opportunists now that are sitting here saying this was the same way with Rodney King. You know what I mean? There were a lot of opportunists who showed up who weren't even they're people driving into Minneapolis from like 2 hours away just to be a part of it. Like they driving in just to try to get something. And the overall view is, like I said, any power that we might have had, when you go into situations with an agenda, this is what black folks have been missing. We've been missing an agenda. So when something like this happens, we have the ability to now say, look, we have an agenda and we have the president's ear. Let's go ahead and bring our list of demands because we have his ear and the agenda. Now what happens? We erase everything because we lose all clout that we just gained. Because now we look like we out here just acting a fool for no reason. Like we don't even care. We just out here burning stuff down. And people are like, hey, look, you know what? We don't even really, want to deal with this because we don't even know if they are serious or not. We don't know if they're serious because if they were serious, they would march up here like Dr. King with their list of demands and say this. But their idea of being serious is going in and burning down the local Wendy's and going and raiding the local Target. So they ain't really serious. They ain't really serious about this. They don't want to change. You know what I mean? They don't want us to do this. And this is my problem because you have a direct group of people out here that, and a lot of them, like I said, I'll defend these three men on this post right now because I've been in battles with these three men. And there's a lot of men out here that have risked their life going to the White House. I was with cats on this post walking through the streets of DC with Secret Service risking their life for this. So it harms me and it hurts me to see that every time we get a leg up and we could go and be like, okay, Mr. President, look, we want to expand the First Step Act. We want to expand the First Step Act to now maybe we can, to protect blacks. We want to extend that to now doing a police investigation or whatever over African Americans. We want to, well, now that we have a serious take, Now it gets chipped away because you got all these people in the cities raiding and shooting and whatever, and they looking at us like, so y'all are serious? Y'all are serious? What's going on? Are y'all really hurting? Because you can't really be hurting. You can't really be hurting inside and then burning down a Wendy's and a Popeyes. You ain't hurting. You ain't hurting. This is opportunistic. Back in Dr. King's time, people were hurting. They were marching arm in arm and would sit on the ground and be like, take me away, even if you water hose me. Right now, we got cats, oh, I'm hurting. I'm flipping over cars and burning them like the Joker movie. That's not hurting. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I was talking about this with my wife when we were in the car. It's how can you respect that man's death while you in the Target taking a TV? Like at least for the sake of this brother that lost his life, at least not go in there and steal a TV. Don't be in there burning down stuff. Don't be destroying police cars because these individuals, and this is not everybody that's there protesting, right? There's some people that probably are protesting who are peaceful. There's people who probably actually really care. But the people who get all the attention are the individuals who are burning stuff and acting a fool. And like ABL was talking about with the Asian community, is show up with a suit and tie like Martin Luther King them used to do. Go down and see if you can change legislation. Give people applications so they can apply for the police department. All of these things we can do to benefit the movement and the ideas moving forward than to just be acting like crazy animals, just as animalistic as the police officer that just killed that brother. So it's kind of fighting fire with fire, and you're not putting out any flames. So let's talk about one thing. I want to jump to Colin Kaepernick. I want to get y'all take on this Colin Kaepernick comparison, and then we'll go to Joe Biden because I think it matches in this political round. So I've been seeing pictures of Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and then they got the white cop taking a knee on that black man's neck. I'm gonna pose a question to you, ABL. Do you think this was racism? And what is your take on the comparison of Colin Kaepernick? Is that a reasonable comparison, or is it out of control? What you got, ABL?
All right, nah, I don't think it's racism. I think it's just a neglectful person that was not looking at this man as a person. I don't think it was racism. I don't think that was really it. And could it be? Maybe. I'm not going to say if it was or if it wasn't for sure, because I don't know this man. I don't know anything about him, but I don't think that it was. But as far as the Colin Kaepernick thing, all they want to do is use him because of the whole kneel-in situation. They want to say, oh, he took a knee because of the knee. Like it matches visually. It's a good meme, but I don't think it's really real. Colin Kaepernick, in my humble opinion, was a guy that had some internal issues due to his race. You know, he's mixed and grew up with a white family. And he even said it himself. He was like, look, I'll be out with my family, and no matter how close I would stand to them, they would not think that I was part of their family. They thought that I was like somebody that was lost, or I shouldn't be there. I didn't belong. It's an internal issue. I didn't even know Kaepernick was black up until he grew his hair out. I just didn't look at him. I didn't really care. You know, I didn't really, that was not really my thing to be examining your race like that. But I didn't even know. And I feel like once he got a little bit of attention, a little bit of fame from the kneeling and the black issues, he kind of gravitated towards that direction because now he finally has that acceptance. Now he finally feels he's part of something. And then on top of that, his career was kind of going down. So it was like, okay, I have some acceptance. I got my girlfriend. She gassing me up. My career is going down. I'm not performing the same way. So I'm going to go do this. So now his whole thing is to basically tweet. He doesn't even really speak that much. His girlfriend speaks more than he does. He pretty much just tweets, and it's all about selling products. Remember that whole the NFL tryout or whatever he had down in Atlanta? Not far from where I'm at right now, probably about an hour and a half away, talking about, okay, it's going to be here, then it's going to be over there, then I got to bring a film crew, then it became this whole rollout for a Nike shoe. So what's really going on? Are you trying to just be, Mr. Pro-Black, Mr. New Malcolm X, or are you just trying to be a product placement guy, an advertising pawn? Are you trying to be a Nike spokesperson using the whole black thing to push forward that particular narrative, make yourself some more money? I can't really call. I'm just asking questions. But I think the whole thing about Colin Kaepernick, it's just all it is a meme that is visually similar as far as the kneeling. But beyond that, I don't think they have anything in common at all.
Damani, what do you think? Was this a racist police officer, a racist encounter, or do you think it was something else? And then also, what's your take on the Colin Kaepernick shenanigans surrounding this incident?
Yeah, I think ABL said it well when he was like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to act like Bishop Talbot Swan and jump the gun.
Your volume.
Oh, my bad. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I'm not going to jump the shark or jump the gun and do like what Bishop Talbot Swan did and share a picture that was debunked by Snopes saying that this officer was pictured wearing a Make Whites Great Again hat. That's simply not the case. But that's the problem that happens when people want to be the first to report something salacious. So I'm not sure if this officer was racist or not. I'm sure time will tell. I do know that actually he had 10 different complaints lobbied against him in his 19-year tenure with the police department that Amy Klobuchar herself, the senator from Minnesota, did not deem necessary to prosecute accordingly. So we know that already. Now, additionally, on top of that, as far as Colin Kaepernick is concerned, Colin Kaepernick was one of the earliest adopters of this culture of weaponized grievance. And what I mean by that is he was one of those people who realized there is real opportunity and people will listen to me and put me on a pedestal if I claim to be oppressed, even though I had a fantastic upbringing from a white family who took me in when my own black father wouldn't take that responsibility to be that positive role model in the home. So now he's sitting here saying, okay, yeah, well, now I identify with my black side because I realize that I can get more out of it. So that's all this is. So when you weaponize that grievance, what you do is you are forcing everyone else to view you as this inherently oppressed individual. Colin Kaepernick himself is not oppressed. Now, I realize what he was fighting for was police brutality and against police brutality. But with goals need to be, there's an acronym, it's SMART. Goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And when he was asked, what do you want to see from police in the future, he couldn't give a specific answer about what he actually wanted to see. So at that point, are you saying you just want no deaths whatsoever? Or are you saying you only want 1 or 2? What is it? How can we progress there? Because it's not going to happen overnight. And what he's done is he's basically played that line all the way out and said, okay, well, until I'm happy, I'm going to protest. And that's counterproductive once again.
Yeah, 100%, 200%. If Colin Kaepernick was watching this, he'll be crying right now. He getting ripped so much, but it's true though. It's true, and I love what I've heard so far because I think that a lot of people don't hear this type of a conversation from brothers that look like us. They think all of us is SJWs, but I think that you have reasonable thinking brothers on here. And the brothers ain't really got nothing to do with much. I know people like to look at us and say you're black, but at the end of the day, we got reasonable thinking men on here who happen to be of African-American descent. Derrick, what's your take on it, man? Was this a racist encounter or was it something else? And what about your boy Colin Kaepernick?
To be honest, I really don't know if this was racist or not. I mean, I could take a page out of Brandon Tatum's book on this and say, at the end of the day, we'll let the facts play out on this. It appears it could be racial. It appears that it could just be a overzealous cop. A lot of us know police officers who may have, it could be that guy who was the nerd in high school who finally got power when he got out. I mean, there's all different types of mentalities, or it could be the guy who just been beat up one too many times and he's taking it out on people. We really don't know. And I think at the end of the day, for this argument, it kind of doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we have a gentleman who's dead who shouldn't be dead right now, regardless. As far as the Kaepernick, the two brothers before me, my brothers before me, did a great job of sewing up 2 points. So piggybacking on them, I want to touch an angle of this. And an angle of this is tangible currency. Okay. I continue to talk about when you have an agenda, or when you bring an agenda to DC, you need to have tangible elements that can be solved. You can't just be bitching for no reason, because in other words, it just turns into hot air. Like I'm just whining, I'm just complaining to complain. I'm out here just marching and singing and complaining for no reason. And that's what we see a lot of. So when it comes to Kaepernick, I want to bring y'all to a situation last year when the president, after all this drama and all this other stuff going on, the president said, okay, look, any football players out here kneeling, any rappers, any whatever, y'all come to the White House and tell me, y'all come to the White House, blah, blah. Do you know not one showed up? Like not one showed up. So I immediately came out and I said, okay, all these I'm not going to name other names, but all these basketball players, you know who you are, all these football players, y'all been doing all this talking, all this kneeling about people you want to get out of jail. Now you could come to the White House and give specific names. This is tangible, specific names. And for some reason, you either have been ordered to stand down or you choosing to stand down. Now, how do you think your homies from the hood that's in the pen are going to feel about that? How do you think they're going to feel knowing that they protected you while you were coming up playing basketball? They protected you while you were playing football in those streets. And it's your job to come back and try to help them now. And you standing down because either somebody ordered you to, or you can't because you're going to lose followers or whatever. But let it be known, the president said, come here and talk to me. Let's talk about this. Not one showed up. But you know who did show up? A bunch of Black Trump supporters like Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens, and other people. And they showed up and they lobbied and they went and kicked down the doors of Congress. And they said, hey, look, you know, let's try to get some brothers out of jail. Let's try to get some money to these HBCUs. You know what I'm saying? And the ironic part is they're the ones that got tangible things for the Black community. The rest of the stuff is all talk. You know, my pops always told me, never let a rich man tell you how to stay broke. You know what I mean? Never let a rich man tell you how to stay broke. And at the end of the day, we got a lot of rich entertainers and a lot of rich rappers and a lot of rich ball players telling you to mess up your new shoes marching while they at home in the bubble bath. So I have a huge problem with cats telling you to go kneel. It's like Killer Mike said in that thing. In this situation, unlike other situations, in this situation, it is your job to survive the encounter. It is not your job to get hyped up on what these rappers are saying and these actors and other people that's saying, go out there and march and fight the power and fight the cops. Because they ain't fighting the cops. They paying their taxes. They doing everything by the book. They look, yes, sir, officer, sir, yes, sir. But they telling you to do that. And it's your job to live and try to fight another day. I don't care if that's a thug or whatever got a gun on you. You know, nobody, like the old saying, nobody's going to put here lies so-and-so, he kept it real on your tombstone. Oh, he kept it real. You know what I mean? That's whack. You don't want to go out. You don't want to do that. And that's the saddest part about this brother in Minneapolis, because at the end of the day, he tried. He did try. He tried because he was begging. He tried. And that's the part that hurts me the most about him, because all too often we hear about stories where people try to go rogue and turn up on the police and whatever else. So I don't know what happened before. All that'll come out in the court case, but I know at the end, at least he was trying. And that's the saddest part about this whole thing. And that's why I feel that these cops definitely need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Appreciate it, Derrick. What about Joe Biden, man? ABL, talk to me, man. What's your boy Joe Biden? We'll make it quick so we can get to a couple more topics. But what's up with Joe Biden, man? What's up, ABL? Talk to me.
Man, I can't call it. I mean, I feel like Joe Biden, that's pretty much their only choice. They don't really have anybody else. They were trying to put Booty Gig up there. What was that? Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas. They're trying to put them up there, but it wasn't moving needle at all. So their best bet is Joe Biden, but it's really a shame because everybody can see this man falling apart right in front of our very eyes. 77 years old, going on 107, got one foot in the grave. And it's really a shame. Like, I don't even want to be funny, but it's we can see it. We can see what's going on. He should not be out there. He should be at the house, you know, having the caretaker come in, make sure that everything's good. He does not know what's going on. This is worse than Hillary Clinton in 2016. Remember that when she tried to go to the van from right there on the curb and she couldn't make it. This is worse than that. And that didn't work in 2016. And she was actually a better candidate than Joe Biden was. Matter of fact, she was better in name recognition, ability to be out there moving and shaking than anybody was in this particular bunch, in my humble opinion. But Joe Biden's out there and it ain't going to work, but they don't have any other choice. He should just go ahead, sit down somewhere. But unfortunately, he's not. But since he's not going to go sit down somewhere, this election 2020, you're talking about Walter Mondale, 1984. Look it up. It was one of the worst defeats in history by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I want to give a round while we got 3,500 people on here. I want everybody to give your social media platform and where people can find you, because I'm sure a lot of people I see in the comment section, they like Damani, ABL, Derrick. They keep asking. So ABL, where can they find you at? I know everybody know you already, but where can they find you, ABL?
Just search ABL on YouTube. I'll come right on up and go to my website, anthonyblogan.com. Everything's right there. My Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, all the good stuff is right there on the website, anthonyblogan.com.
Damani, where can they find you, brother?
Yeah, I'm at TikTok and Instagram and Twitter at the Damani Felder, and YouTube it's the Riots Brothers, or just type my name in, Damani Felder, to YouTube, and my channel will come right up.
Awesome. Derrick, where can they find you, brother?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Derrick Gradenigo, as you see on the screen. Facebook, the same thing, Derrick Gradenigo. On Twitter, I am at D Gradenigo, just the letter D Gradenigo. You can find me there.
Awesome, man. So I want to get to Damani. I want you to kind of answer that same question. What is your thoughts on this whole Joe Biden shenanigans? What's your thought on the 2020 election?
Joe Biden is the gift that keeps on giving. Part of me almost feels bad for him, just because it's clear that he's not all there anymore. It's clear he's not the one running his social media anymore. And to think of it as, for the Democratic Party that has spent the last 4 years preaching that old rich white men are bad, and they had almost 30 different people vie for the nomination, and he's the best you got, that problem shows more about the state of the Democratic Party right now than does about anything else. So it's a shame to see him, falter and stumble. And I know they are dreading the day when he has to be in an in-person debate with Donald Trump, because even though Trump is only 4 years his junior, I believe, Trump would make that look very easy. It would be a bloodbath. Joe Biden can't differentiate between what his wife is and what his sister is. Joe Biden's on record saying, and you can't go into a 7-Eleven unless you have a slight Indian accent. He says poor kids are just as talented as white kids. He says, if you have a problem figuring out if you're for me or for Trump, you ain't black. Like I said, the gift that keeps on giving. I can't believe people are going to hold their nose and vote for someone that they spent the last 4 years openly denigrating, saying that they hate more than anything else, which is old white men.
100%. Derrick, what's your thoughts, man? And then my wife told me that I need to open it up so we could just have a random conversation.
Yeah.
So, Derrick, talk to us about the Joe Biden shenanigans.
Look, man, I said in the video that we did for the president and the video we did for Students for Trump, it's very simple. I wasn't shocked by what Joe Biden said, simply because the Democratic Party has been running this shell game on Black Americans since the beginning of time. People like him treat Black people like pets. They love you, but you're their dog, and you have to have a certain limit. Once you get to their level, they don't like you anymore. It's very easy to see. As far as Biden, I'm not shocked that Democrats have people like him in their party. But going back to what Damani said, I'm shocked that they would put him forth as a candidate. One, because of the stuff that we've heard him say. Two, of the stuff that is lying on the ground that many of you don't know about. Particularly in reference to people like Jim Eastling, who's a racist segregationist who Biden looked to as a mentor. Now, this person, Jim Eastling, also called Thurgood Marshall, the nation's first Black Supreme Court justice, a N-word to Bobby Kennedy's face. And this is one of Joe Biden's mentors that he worked on the busing legislation with. He is, and it just shocks me that we can even allow someone like this to be even considered in the African American community as an option. That's even before we even get into the crime bill and everything else that goes on. It literally shocks me, and it also shows me that we as minorities, melanated people, Black, whatever you want to call yourself, we really, really have to wake up and stop allowing the, whether you want to call it the slave master, the leftist, whatever, to control our emotions in the narrative. Because I continue to hear people say the same thing about, I want Donald Trump to apologize for the Central Park fire. I want him to apologize for this. And I'm sitting here saying, listen, Joe Biden locked up millions of Black people, and Donald Trump is actually reversing this. What are you talking about? Joe Biden is working with segregationists. He's writing love letters to them in the 70s. Like, I love you. Like I love you. Like, you're great. And I'm sitting here saying, you want to go tit for tat? Do you really want to do that? And it just literally shocks me, because at a certain point, when you hear people also say, well, I don't care anymore, then I know that it's no point in even battling you. You're just going to have to wake up on your own. And, you know, I tell my brothers on here a lot that we can only do so much. You know, at a certain point, it's like, look, man, I love y'all. I'm going to stay steadfast because the Bible tells us to. But if I'm giving you all this ammo, and you still want to stay on this plantation with this hot water cornbread that master is giving you, then I can't really do anything but win and let you watch us win. And hopefully it's not too late by the time you come over, because I'm giving you all the ammo you need. I'm telling you what Donald Trump is doing for HBCUs, $1 billion in the next 4 years. I'm telling you that he's doing this. I'm telling you that Joe Biden is sitting here saying how to be black. That's the opposite. And you're sitting here saying, well, you still want to roll with Biden because your favorite talk show host told you to, or your favorite athlete, or your favorite entertainer, when that entertainer wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire on the side of the road. So you have to wake up and start doing for the self. Stop doing as a collective unit. You have to do for you. If you really are a king and a queen out there, start acting like it.
Amen. Amen. So I want to do some Q&A. So if you guys that are watching, if you want to ask questions, please. If you want to ask specifically to ABL, Damani, or Derrick, or myself, you can put it in there. Address us by name. I'll try to pop it up on the screen. Obviously, if you super chat the question, that question will be read first. If you want to write a question in there, make sure you put some emojis in there so I can see it. Be patient with me because my computer ain't as fast as it should be. So I'm going to try to go through. If you have a question for any of us, go ahead and super chat it or ask it in the regular section. So I'm going to try to find the first super chat that is a question after I make mention, and then we'll go from there. So, but in the meantime, ABL, I want you to tell me what do you think is your favorite accomplishment by President Trump? What's I mean, if you don't have to be number one, but like what's one of your favorite accomplishments that Donald Trump has done? And then what's the thing you most disappointed in Donald Trump?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think my favorite thing that he's done is just highlight how corrupt DC is. And it's not just, you know, surface level like you politicians. Anybody can say, okay, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton, everybody's corrupt. That's one thing. But once you get down to the swamp, the core of the swamp, I know y'all know about it. The people that work in DC, the staffers and everybody else, people that do certain things, people that are in bed with the news media, literally or figuratively. That's the main thing I like them to do, is just to put a highlight on that and expose how much they really just damage our society. That's the main thing, because now we can identify who to really, you know, go to with a certain complaint or to target with a certain complaint. And also just having a highlight on the voting, how important that is. Local, national, the whole thing. So don't just vote for the president every 4 years. Be more active. Okay, everybody's more active because the left, they're active trying to get us out of the way. We are becoming more active trying to get them out of the way. So now everybody's more active. Everybody's more knowledgeable about what's happening. You have less kind of passive political people. You have more active political people that understand what's going on. So I like him for just highlighting DC, how corrupt it is and how people need to get out there and really get cracking. Now, what I probably dislike, I can't really say it's his fault 100%, but he's a president, so I got to be real. This whole virus shutdown response, okay, I understand the whole world is dealing with it. People are kind of like freaking out. People dropping dead in China, all this and that and the third. People throwing up blood or whatever in the subway in China, all these crazy viral videos. But it's like, all right, you're sending out guidances, wasn't really well thought out. You got Fauci in there. You got all these doctors in there, so-called doctors and experts. You know, did you vet them before you allowed them to stay in the White House? So I think it's a little bit slow to the trigger to fire some people. I know he's going to get the backlash. Oh, you can't fire this expert. He's been here since Reagan. So what? You know, times change. You might have had the Iceman come to your house 50 years and give you a block of ice. But now, hey, we got a fridge. We'll need you no more, sir. So I need you to go ahead, pack your bags, and go about your business. That's what he does right now with Anthony Fauci and some others, but he's not really doing that. So he's kind of slow to the trigger to fire people that need to be fired. And that's pretty much all I got to say as far as my dislike to Trump. Beyond that, I'm loving what he's doing. The best president in my lifetime.
Awesome. Awesome. So we can get to the first question, and then I might jump y'all all in. So why does it seem like, and this is from Samson WR, so why does it seem like we only hear about racism when it's white on black crime? So this is one of the things that I think that has been on my mind that I talk about every day. Why is it only when a white man do something to a black man that is promoted as racism, but it's overlooked when black people do it to white people? I want to know your thoughts. Damani, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. And when I think about it, what it really is, it just is a way to further and perpetuate that racial divide. If you look on the CDC's website, for young black males aged 16 to 25, the #1 cause of death for them is homicide by other young black males. Let's not get it twisted. Those numbers are readily available. But the problem is that information is not as palatable, or it's not spoken as much from our ostensible leaders in the black community. You're not going to hear people like Cardi B talking about that. You're not going to hear LeBron James talking about that. You're damn sure not going to hear Sean King talking about it himself. So when you have all these people perpetuating this narrative, what it becomes is, it goes back to Joseph Goebbels' quote where he said, if you tell a lie long enough, people will come to believe it. And we've got people who have been repeating this lie for so long that America is a racist place, when we have made so many great strides from the standpoint of racial progress within the last half a century, going from the standpoint of Ruby Bridges having to have a National Guard escort take her to school 50 years ago, almost 60 years ago almost, to now where we litter the socioeconomic landscape. It just goes to show you the lengths people will go to continue to pull the wool over the average person's eyes. Honestly, because they know the average person, unfortunately, is more willing to accept that narrative from those influential people than they are to do their own research. People watching on their cell phones, you can pull up your cell phone, go to Google or DuckDuckGo and type in literally anything that you have a question for. And if you dig deep enough, you will find the right answer. But the thing is, that's not easy enough. We live in an age of instant gratification where people want things immediately and they don't want to have to do any legwork themselves. So you have someone who's going to feed you what you kind of already want to hear. At that point, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So when you go out and view the world, you view the world through that lens that you honestly chose for yourself.
Amen. So I'm going to answer this next question. I'll answer this question. And the next question, I'm going to throw it to you, Derrick. This is from B-Town Tom. I'm from the UK. The left-wing SJW narrative is drummed into the young people in universities unopposed. Is this the same thing in the USA? And if so, how do you propose to stop it? Now, I speak at universities all over the country. I think I've been to 26 universities already, and it is definitely happening in the United States. It is an epidemic in the United States of SJW BS being shoved down the throats of these young, innocent people that go to school, pay all their money to get a good education, is being drummed down their throat. President Trump, I believe, is going to be the key to promoting from the top down of how the brainwashing is going on in universities and how things need to change. One thing that I would suggest, people who are donating to universities, people who are supporting universities, withdraw your money from universities that are not being balanced and teaching your children. People, stop going to these universities. Stop giving your money. If they're not going to have a balanced perspective, go to private universities, go to Christian universities. I'll keep it real quick because I don't want to take too much of time, but that's kind of some of the solutions that I see. The next question, I'm going to throw it to you, Derrick. Hopefully I can find it. The young lady was talking about, I may not be able to put it on the screen, but I can read it. She was saying, why does it seem like we promote looting and rioting and we ignore black on black crime?
Right. So I'm glad you asked that, because I wanted to piggyback on Damani's thing. And I want everybody, like I said, I'm more of the philosophical realm, more of a strategist. So I want everybody to take a deep breath and try to understand where I'm going with this answer. Okay. So listen, when we talk about, going back to what Dinesh D'Souza said about when slavery became illegal physically, it's still not illegal mentally. So at the end of the day, what you have to understand, in a slave camp, when they wanted to keep the slave, but they were afraid of him running away, they would cut off a foot. So right now, when you sit here and you say, well, why are they visualizing? Why are they showing so much looting? Because they're trying to promote that. They're trying to promote that. They're not going to show black on black crime because Just like Tupac Shakur said, I don't know how to clean up the ghetto, but I know if we keep bringing cameras there, somebody's going to clean it up. So they don't want to bring cameras there because somebody's going to clean it up. And they need Black people to exterminate themselves. They need it's way more effective for the Klan or white supremacists to have Black people kill each other than them try to kill Black people. They found that out a long time ago. It's way more effective. So what they like to do is the equivalent of cut off a foot, which means we want to keep Black people at 13%. Black people should have been way up around 30 to 40% of the population by now. If we didn't have all these abortions, if we didn't have all this Black on Black crime, we would have way more power in our vote than we do now. That 13% keeps just enough to have us like a usable slave, but not that effective. And they don't want Black people to be at 20 to 25% because the way they see it, if they get to 20, 25%, what happens when some Martin Luther King figure shows up and then he sways all the 25% against us? So they want you at that just effective enough range to still be a usable slave. You know, just like we said in the 60s in Selma, they were allowing Black people to get beat. They would have continued to allow Black people to get beat until a lot of those white priests went down, and that was on camera. They caught that on camera. When they saw that on camera, they were like, oh no, we got to stop this. It's the same thing. They'll show looting. They'll show Black people. They want to motivate Black people to do this, but they won't go to Chicago. They won't go to Compton. They won't go and park their cameras in Oakland. You know what I mean? I talked before about how whenever the shooting happened at the gay club in Orlando, I happened to be in Orlando. I went a week later to show love, put flowers and everything. Don Lemon and them had a Woodstock set up there. It was like a stage. And I mean, they had cameras and lights and all this stuff. And I'm like, dang, okay, that's bad. 50 people died, but you got 50 people shot in Chicago on a random 3-4 days. Why don't y'all bring this big camera crew and the stage to Chicago? Why don't y'all bring it to the Bronx? Why don't y'all bring it to Philly? Oh, no, we can't do that. Because they know if they bring it, it'll get cleaned up. So to answer your question, they have to keep the plantation philosophy. They have to keep Black folks at war with each other. They have to keep this situation. That's why you won't see cameras, you won't see whatever, but you will see Black folks rising up against what the quote unquote whitey that technically, if we look at the numbers, we look at things over and over. Yes, it is a problem. Racism exists in America, yes. But if I bring you to a hospital and you got a laceration versus a bullet wound to the chest, what is the doctor going to take care of first? He's going to take care of the bullet wound. So a lot of people around the world, they look at Black America and they call me from all over the world and they say, yo, look, at the end of the day, we understand what's going on with racism, but the bullet wound, when y'all ain't addressing the bullet wound, we kind of don't even take you serious. And I feel them. I feel them because we have to start addressing the bullet wound and then we could get to the rest of the body.
Appreciate it, brother. I'm going to try to get to these questions. I'm going to try to get a little more rapid. So if you give a response, try to make it real quick.
Yeah.
Just very, very quick and succinct. The next question from Rob. Thank you so much for the super chat. What is the solution to the rioting? How do we stop the insanity in the future? I think I'm going to answer this one. I think the solution to the rioting is for people to keep calling it out, and for individuals like the people on this panel to keep spitting the truth so people can see it and people can reject it. Because I've seen this time, which is different than in Ferguson, I've seen a lot of people rejecting this and saying, hey, I was with Minneapolis until they started doing this. Ferguson, people were still going along with it. They were kind of shocked that it happened. But I think that calling it out and people coming together collectively and saying we condemn this type of behavior. Let me get to the next question. This was a pretty good one about social media. Let's see. LB, what do you think about Trump's executive order on social media? ABL, what you think about that? Trump's executive order on social media.
Now, I heard about it. Has it gone into effect yet? Because I've not seen the update on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that I guess he signed it, but I'm not sure what effect it's going to have. And I didn't even get a chance to read all of it to see what exactly does this mean. You know,
well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it. I know what they're talking about is basically, I think it's the CDA. Let me look it up right quick. It's the CDA section 203. That's what they were talking about. So that's the Communication and Decency Act, 1996, Section 230, pardon me, not 203, 230. What they were trying to do with this act back then is to stop pornography from spreading on the internet. That's what they were trying to do. And what it also did was kind of restrict free speech in general, aside from pornography. So they put Section 230 in there to protect internet websites. So prime example, Twitter. Everybody has their own page. Everybody uploads whatever they want to upload. Section 230 would protect Twitter from any kind of litigation, any kind of lawsuits if I post something that's copyrighted. Okay, that might want to go after me for posting it, but not Twitter itself, because Twitter, under that section, is seen as a platform, not a publisher. But if you are Washington Times, New York Post, and something is published on that platform, then they are held liable because they're not a platform. People don't, it's not user-generated content. If you have something that goes on their website, it has to get reviewed, edited, in the whole 9 yards. So whatever goes on their website, so they can't say, oh, it's an iPad, it's not our opinion. No, yes, it is. If anything appears on NewYorkPost.com, WashingtonPost.com, it's because they approved it. They say, okay, we're going to put our name behind it. It's out there. If there's anything libelous, slanderous, or whatever in this particular piece, we take the hit as Washington Post, New York Post, or whatever. But Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc., you have user-generated content. They're not responsible. Okay, Gawker is a prime example. Gawker was a website. They're a publisher. When they published Hollywood Hulk Hogan sex tape back in the day, they got sued out of existence. But if I take a link from Gawker that has a sex tape in it and I put it on Twitter, nothing happens to Twitter because it's Gawker. They did it. You see what I'm saying? So Trump was trying to take that away from Twitter so they could be open to lawsuits potentially. Now, there's a problem with that. If they do that, then there's no more Twitter. And that could also be used to attack Google and other things. So I don't think attacking it that way would make sense. They're trying to edit it and make the executive order be applicable, but I'm not really sure what he can do. I think all that really can be done, quite honestly, is if we go to a different platform, because at the end of the day, you got a private company. If they take this to court, what'll happen is the Supreme Court probably rule against Trump and say, okay, you got freedom of speech. Now, that's a good thing if it goes to court and he loses, because that also applies to the gay wedding cake. Remember that? Bake the cake, you bigot, or else we're going to sue. Okay. If you cannot order a private company on what to do, then that also applies to other companies, not just Twitter, not just Facebook, not just Instagram, YouTube, or whatever, but with everybody. So you can't come to my establishment and say, bake this cake or I'm going to sue you. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I don't think that he'll be successful if he's trying to get rid of Section 230, because at the end of the day, you kind of like infringing on private companies' free speech.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I just think if we don't like it, we need to create our own platform and not necessarily get the government involved, because once they're involved, they don't come out of it. And once they get involved and a liberal takes office, it's going to be night time for all us conservatives on these platforms, because they're gonna use executive power like Trump does to accomplish their agenda. Somebody said, Officer Tatum, what do you say to people that bring the whole police force into this and call it all police racist? I think it's just as dumb to do that to police as it is to do it to black people. If you're willing to say because of one police officer's mistake or two police officers' mistake that every police officer is a racist and you throwing stuff into their cars, you're an idiot. Just the same way if somebody see one black man do something and you say all black people are like that. Let's get to the next question. That was a really good question to hear. Somebody, I think the person disagreed with us, which I like to disagree in questions. Let me try to find it real quick. I might have to read it. I might have to just say it if I can't find it. The young man pretty much asked about the protests. Oh, here you go. Let's see. Brother Moses. He said, when armed people protested the stay-at-home order, they were not pepper sprayed or rubber bullets fired. Why not? So I'm gonna take it to the panel. Damani, what do you think about that? You know, when the people were at the Capitol and everybody saying, I'm gonna stand up for my rights, there was no pepper spray. In a lot of cases, there were no real police enforcement. Why is that different? I think this gentleman is saying, why is that different than what's going on with the protests in Minneapolis?
I'll tell you why. Because there's a big difference between protesting for the right to go to work and provide for your family, and then there's a big difference between that and going out and being an anarchist or insurrectionist just because that's how you feel. That's the main thing. So because if we were going out there as conservatives and saying, and throwing rocks in the courthouse's door, yeah, we probably would have had a few arrests. But guess what? That's not the way we roll. That's not the way we're supposed to roll, or anyone's supposed to roll. You go to the source, in this case, the courthouse, if you're protesting for us to reopen the country, and you petition the appropriate people to do it. So you tell me, the person asked this question, how is throwing a rock or lighting a fire at the local AutoZone or trashing a Target, how is that going to the source and figuring out who to best talk to fix this problem that we have with certain people in our police force? That's the main thing. So the reason there was no pepper spray or rubber bullets fired is because we weren't out there, for lack of a better way of putting it, acting a fool. Yes, we were being vocal and protesting vocally and vigorously for the change that we would like to see. We were not doing it in a way that would ultimately bring harm to our communities and to ourselves at the end of the day.
100%. I have a person, let's see, Ronald, and we're going to be done here in a few minutes. I don't want to hold y'all for too long. Let's see, Ronald.
Good. We
have good. If you good, if y'all good to go, there's still 4,000 people watching.
Man, we can
keep going.
He was loving it in the comments, man. They love.
All right, we'll keep going. I just want to be respectful to y'all as well. Let's see, Ronald. How does a police officer supposed to protect and serve when media downgrade us to be the enemy? This is what I will say. As a former police officer, you have to consistently keep doing your job. You know, the media is going to say whatever they're going to say, but the people that interact with you on a day-to-day basis, that's how you build relationships. Because even if they see some negative in the media, you approach them with kindness and care, and you show compassion, and you're a good officer, they'll have that lasting physical memory more so than what somebody did in Minneapolis where they don't live. So just keep doing your job, man. I think that things in life ebb and flow. It'll come back in full circle. Let me see if I can find another comment. Some people are saying, Vernon said, great job to everybody. They're loving what we're doing. Let's see. This is a question about the McMichaels. No go. Thanks for the super chat. Do you think the McMichaels weren't charged because they were white or because one was an ex-cop? Great question. I'm gonna throw it to y'all, Derrick. I think it's your turn to talk. So, do you think the McMichaels weren't charged because they were white, or because the guy was an ex-cop, or because it was something different?
I mean, to be honest, again, this is like, it's going down a rabbit hole. You know what I mean? And again, I like to, like one man, when we talked about this the other day, and when you get into this McMichael's case and the case in Georgia, it's almost like I like to talk about, it's like Ebola or something, man. Like when you touch it, it's just basically, it just turns into something else. And people are like, what about this? What about that? As far as why he wasn't charged, like I said, in every scenario, there could be anything. Like it could be, like I said, it could be that somebody knew somebody. But these are the type of privileges that happen in every city. You know what I mean? And in every way, in every how. Now, again, I'm looking at it from a bird's eye view. Was he not charged because he knew someone and he was an ex-cop? Possibly. Was he not charged because he lived there for 30 years and they knew him and whatever? Possibly. But if we go to Chicago, is there somebody who doesn't get ratted on because people know him? Is there somebody? There's always going to be privileges everywhere. All of it isn't right. All of it could be wrong. It could come from the wrong place. But I think that when we start to focus on those things, we lose focus of the actual situation that somebody passed away. Is horrible, and we need to move on and do better next time. Because we could go into, well, why do we think that he had this kind of shotgun shells? Why do we think that he didn't have the right jogging shoes? Why do we think that this, that, the other? The bottom line for me is that a person is dead. It was wrong. The legal system will handle it. And we got people that's dying tonight. So we need to focus on the people dying tonight and how can we save them? And what is their most likely cause of being shot? Right now, we got people out here looting, shooting. Somebody died yesterday, I think, in Minneapolis doing something. So we got to handle this stuff and stop focusing on, little things and get into the present. You know what I mean? Right now.
Yeah. So great response. So somebody brought up a religious aspect of it. I can't find the comment, so I can't put it on the screen, but I'm gonna read it. I think Evodio, I think that's your name. Evodio, thanks so much for the super chat. I saw an illustration portraying the crucifixion of Christ with the words, I can't breathe. Oh, I can't finish reading this. It made me so. It says, as a Christian man, What should I do? What are your thoughts about comparing Christ to George, this guy that passed away, George, or other victims, past and present? So let me say this. I'm gonna start out as a Christian. I know everybody on here are probably not a Christian, but the Christians on the thing, I'm gonna respond. And if anybody else want to say something about it, you can. If you want to go to the next question, we'll go to the next question. But for me, I think it's blasphemous to compare anybody to the crucifixion of Christ, obviously because there's biblical precedent for the reason why Jesus even went to the cross, and he got crucified and he didn't do nothing wrong. He didn't have a criminal record. Jesus wasn't smoking crack. He wasn't resisting arrest. You know, you can't compare what happens to other people to Christ. I think it's disingenuous at best. As a Christian, don't waste your time arguing with people about this stuff, because they're just doing this for shock factor. None of these people believe in Christ and would make a close comparison to that. Anybody else want to touch on that? You want to bounce to the next question? Derrick, go ahead, touch on it.
Just real quick, man, I want to make this very, very certain, because a lot of people get this twisted, and I blame pastors for this. Like, a lot of these pastors, they don't teach. They just sit there and collect money. So if they taught, they would understand that when people say, I want to live a Christ-like life, people want to compare themselves or compare certain humans to Jesus. But look at the last part of that word, Christ-like. Christ-like. Paul was Christ-like. Peter was Christ-like. Start comparing people to the humans after Jesus. Don't compare them to Jesus. So if you want to sit here and at the end of the day say this gentleman, was killed, he wasn't, because the reason they want to compare him to Jesus is they want to act like the police department mandated his death, like Pontius Pilate mandated Jesus' death. That's not true. This is an individual dude that was on something or just did his whatever and just kneeled on him. That has no mandate from the police department. It's nothing to do with the same thing. Now, if you want to say, one thing I will say about this man is that when I watched him and I watched his nature in that video, he's a very, he's a very God-fearing dude. And he had a lot of words to say about the Black community. And he had a lot of words to say about how the Black community needs to do better, about how the younger generation needs to quit looking up to shooters and people who are out here shooting and calling them they the real ones in this. And he was like, y'all need to grow up. And he said a lot of people need to grow up. So I will say that he did have some very good Christian tenets about his nature. And I appreciate that.
Also, man, there's another question on here. I
want to say one thing, if you can hear me.
Yeah. Let me bring you on to say your part, and then I'll bring the next question in. Go ahead, Damani.
Yeah, no, piggybacking off of all that was said earlier, I just want to say, if you want to equivocate George Floyd's situation with the crucifixion, let's take that a step further then. So let's say, okay, Jesus, we know that he died for our sins. We know that that was a decision that was arrived at wrongfully. How did the disciples act afterwards? Did they go out and did they act a fool and, just destroy everything around them? Or were they persecuted? Did they get through that persecution? And are we all better for what they sacrificed? So we can't play this weird game where we're trying to draw parallels between obviously a very tragic situation and Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That fish don't swim.
2000%. I agree. Somebody said, let's see. Joey said, question for all of you. What keeps you going and doing what you do, even though others might drag you down, smear your name? Where do you get your motivation through the hate? So I'll start, and then we'll pass the ball around. So personally, my mission, the way I'm set up, comes from God. So I understand my godly mission, and that's what helps me pursue. Even if people don't like me, I don't care as long as God is pleased with what I'm doing. That's kind of where I start at. Also, in a carnal sense, a lot of people, somebody, I don't know whose echo is going, but somebody's echoing. I don't know if you got to mute your thing or I'll mute it. I think I got it. I think it's good. All right. So not only is my faith in God, pushing me and giving me the wisdom and courage to keep doing what I'm doing, it's also all of the individuals who have sent me messages, who like my videos, who share positive comments. That stuff really motivates me and make me feel like, you know what, there are people out here that care about what I'm doing. There are people out here that are changing. So not only is my faith, it's a lot of y'all, man, that push me to continue to move. And thank you for all the positive comments. Keep them coming because they actually mean a lot to me. And I'm being quite honest. ABL, go ahead, man. What's your take on that question?
I'm pretty much like you, man. I think it's the people that contact me all the time. I get emails. You know, I got a P.O. box, man. I get letters. People send me birthday cards, Christmas cards. I mean, all kind of stuff, man. It's crazy. Like, and then where I'm out here in Tennessee. Me and my girl be out going to get something to eat. People come up to me. Hey, I'm your biggest fan. I love you. You got like middle-aged, like older black ladies coming up to me. Like one lady like hugged me. I almost started crying right there, man, because it was crazy. It was like, you know, I had no idea that I'm reaching out to so many people. So that's the main thing that keeps me going. I'm really worried about the haters because I feel like if you got haters, then you must be doing something right. You know, I get consistent haters that come to the show every time. I got a hater that's in the chat right now that calls my show every single time. It's like, you my biggest fan for real. So I don't even get mad at the haters. I really appreciate those that support what I do. And I appreciate those whose lives have been changed. People say, you know what, before I started watching you and Brandon and everybody else, I was lost. I didn't know where I was going, but watching you guys helped me find somebody that I can relate to and get my life back on track. So that is really what helps me, the people. I don't worry about the negative noise and the haters. That's not really important. The people that have gotten something from me, that's all that matters.
I appreciate it, man. Damani.
Yeah, obviously, just like y'all both said, it's about the support of the people who, you know, do reach out and say that our work is effective. People are listening. That keeps us going more than anyone knows. But on top of that, too, you know, for all the people who, you know, are going to jump in the inbox and hurl racist pejoratives or whatever at me, it doesn't really matter because I know whose I am and I know why I'm here and I know where I'm going. I'm not here to make friends with people. I'm here to speak the truth. Speak the truth in love. Sometimes the love isn't going to feel so good, but it's still love, you know? So when I look at it, I don't really let that bother me. Yes, I get hate mail just like everybody else that you're looking at right now, but it doesn't even matter because when you are purpose-driven and when you know what the facts are beyond the shadow of a doubt, it doesn't matter what anyone says because at the end of the day, you know where you stand. And that is the most invigorating feeling is that I'm not standing on shifting sands. I am standing firm on what I believe, what I've been called to support based on who I serve, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I'm proud to do it. So for me, I count it all joy when I'm persecuted or called names or whatever, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I know what I'm standing for. There's a spirit of evil in this country right now. I truly believe that. There's a spirit of darkness and degeneracy. You know, I feel if me getting hate mail is the worst that comes from it, it could be so much worse. As we look throughout history, it could be so much worse. So if the worst thing that I get is hateful comments in my inbox, I don't really care. Bring it on. But I appreciate the people who do say it's making an impact.
Appreciate it, Damani. Derrick, what you got, bro?
Hey, what's good? So, yeah, man, again, taking this to the metaphysical realm, a lot of us go to church on Sundays or went to church when we were a kid. A lot of us talk about Jesus and we talk about how we want to be a better figure. We want to be like Martin Luther King. We want to be like these characters throughout history. So we also have to understand that when you ask for certain things, there are certain things that come along with that. We have to understand, like Jesus said, remember when the world turns on you, that it turned on me first. So at the end of the day, when you are sitting here and you're persecuted, you have to understand that how history will remember you versus how the present remembers you. Remember, the same people that were waving palms at Jesus were basically asking for his execution the next Friday. You have to understand that Martin Luther King had a 75% disapproval rating when he died. And a lot of those were Black individuals who were swayed by the media because Lyndon Johnson didn't like that Martin Luther King's take on Vietnam. So we have to also understand the same thing goes for Gandhi or anybody else, that when you're doing something monumental, again, we go back to my earlier statement of individualism. This is not about a collective whole. I don't need any basketball player with millions of dollars to co-sign me. I don't need any talk show host to co-sign me because I'm the one that's going to be in front of the gates at the end answering to God when he says, did you fulfill the duty I gave to you? I sent you down there to help set some people free. Well, no, I couldn't do that because LeBron told me. I couldn't do that because, see, Oprah and them, nah, bro. It's one-on-one. And God, again, God is going to say, I may not have given you the same gift that I gave 10 people in your neighborhood, but you were supposed to do it. So these are the type of things that keep me up at night. When I'm sitting here saying, you want to trash me, you want to talk about whatever, it doesn't matter how you feel about me in the present, because all I'm worried about how history is going to remember me in the future. And that's period.
Love it, man. I had myself muted, so I appreciate it. Let me get to some super chats, man. I love what all y'all said, man. I think that question probably means more to the people watching than to talk about the political stuff. There's a few people with a bunch of super chats. Y'all forgive me if and just for the record, so everybody know, like all the love that you guys are sharing through the super chats, we all sharing the love. So when you send a super chat, it ain't just for B Tatum, it ain't just for Damani. We all will share all of the super chat love. So we appreciate everybody sharing those things. Max, thank you so much for the $50 super chat sticker. And let's see, Lance, thanks so much for the super chat. 63-year-old angry white vet, do what you do. I don't know what that means, but thank you for the super chat. Bryson, my brother from another mother, man. Bryson in the house. Y'all need to go check out Bryson with his MAGA music, bro. I'm telling you, his album go hard. I listen to his album all the time. It go hard. I like this. Y'all stay up. Never bow down to the mob. Amen. Bryson, I got to get you on here too, brother. I got to get you on here next time. Let's see. I think that's pretty good. Somebody got one for ABL. Rebecca, thanks so much for the super chat. Always my favorite voice of reason, Brandon. And I just found ABL not too long ago. Great discussion, gentlemen. I think everybody on here add value to the discussion. 4 real men right here. We'll meet one day in heaven. Keep running the race. Laura, thanks so much for the super chat. Let me get down here and make sure I don't miss anybody. Somebody asked a really good question, and I didn't want to miss it. Okay, somebody asked this question. I'll put it up on the screen. How do I debunk police brutality as a epidemic to my friends? My first thing would be, and I'll let y'all pass around if y'all want to talk about it. My first thing would be, first of all, you need to determine what is an epidemic, right? Once you are able to determine what's an epidemic to your friends, have them address that with you. Have them answer the question. You ask them, what is the epidemic? They give you the response, and then you say, okay, let's think about this for a minute. Police brutality. There are X amount of police officers in the country, which is thousands of police officers having millions of interactions with people on an annual basis. Thousands of interactions per day all around the country. How many of those result in the shootings? Very rarely. As a former police officer, I never got into a shooting. I was on a SWAT team. I did all kind of stuff, and I never got into a shooting. Probably 98% of police officers on the department never get into shootings in their time on duty. It's a very rare occurrence. And then you can go down the list of giving statistical data about police brutality. There's a PragerU video that if you Google PragerU police brutality, it's a video that gives you stats all the way from the top down of how many cases were dismissed, how many complaints, how many police officers. It'll give you all those numbers. And I'll tell you this, you can share that with your friend in lieu of you talking, because they're not going to believe you. They're gonna be talking trash to you. They may or may not believe you. But if you could give them a quick interactive video, it'll be something that works positively. Anybody want to touch on that? Y'all want to move on to the next one? Damani, go ahead, Damani.
Yeah, I'll do one real quick. All I'm going to say is when you have your friends telling you that police brutality is an epidemic, talking about white police officers and black men, one thing I like to do is, and you try this yourself, is tell them without using Google to name 5 people that they know, black men who were shot and killed by the police in this last year. And I promise you they cannot do it. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm gonna try to read these super chats because the way they go down the list and I can't find them anymore, but they're at the top. So Randy, thanks so much for the super chat. Everyone I know is blanked at what happened, but what is the main grievance? It sounds like the officer will be tried for murder and the other officer will probably be charged too. So I agree. I think that there's no real grievance here, man. People just want to find an excuse to go out, protest, steal brand new TVs from Target. Some people, not everybody. I'm not going to say it's everybody, but some people want to do that. Joshua, thanks so much for the super chat. Gloria, thanks so much for $50 super chat sticker. let's see, Blue, thanks so much for the super chat. I absolutely love this conversation, and you guys are all handsome. Well, I'm married, so no, I'm just playing. These other now ABL, he got a woman. Derrick, Damani, are you single? Damani's single, but you better be saved if you're gonna be talking to Damani. He don't need no women that don't know the Lord. And Derrick, you single? I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? No, I said I do my thing, man. That's a mystery, you know. I can't divulge all that information, you know. I can't get that information, you know what I mean?
Hey man, you never know. The wifey may be on here watching right now. I'm getting ready to super chat you, bro.
Man,
all right, so
man,
let me see. All right, let me get to the next question real quick, and then we'll do a couple questions. I'm gonna get off the super chat and try to answer people's questions who didn't super chat, because I want to be fair. I don't want, because last night I did 2 hours of answering super chat questions the whole time. So let's see, why is the guy that recorded? Let's see. Let me get you. I gotta mute Derrick real quick because he give me feedback. It says, why is the guy that recorded what happened in the McMichaels being charged with murder, and is it even possible that the shotgun went off by accident? So I'll answer this, and you guys can touch on it as well. His charge is not necessarily. It's not necessarily as if he murdered somebody. That's not the way the charging works. The charging is that he was a part of a felony crime, that a murder occurred, so they charge him with the overlying charge of murder, right? Everybody got charged with this overlying charge of murder because there was a murder that occurred in this situation. So let me give you a quick example. So nobody's being charged with intentional murder, if that makes any sense. The individual, Travis McMichael, who was, I think he was acting in self-defense. People can deny that if they want to. That's fine. We'll find out in court. They are charging him with aggravated assault. So his main charge is aggravated assault, and somebody died as a result of an aggravated assault situation. So he has an overlying charge of murder. Greg McMichael that was in the truck, he was an accessory to an aggravated assault, and somebody died in that commission of a felony crime. So that's an overlying charge of murder. Also, the dude recording was an accessory to a unlawful detention, false imprisonment, felony false imprisonment crime. Somebody died while he was in the commission of what they believe is a felony crime, and they're getting charged with overlying murder. So the crazy thing about this is that if they cannot prove that it was actually an aggravated assault, everybody gets off of this case. Everybody gets off. The overlying charge of murder is not applicable. Felony murder is not applicable, and everybody's going to get off. So people better really pay attention to the laws so they don't get their feelings hurt at the end of the day if something goes straight. The shotgun, according to the DA that recused himself, it is not clear based on forensic evidence how the shotgun was fired. It is clear that Travis McMichael, I believe, based on his testimony, that his finger was on the trigger. But because of the pulling and jerking of the gun, they can't tell if Travis pulled the trigger or because of Mr. Arbery that the trigger was pulled. In a statement by the DA who recused himself, made a statement to say that you only have to pull the trigger 1/116th to 1/1/8 of an inch to cause the shotgun to fire. So they're not going to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Travis McMichael pulled the trigger. I'm sure of. Anybody else want to touch on that? ABL, go ahead.
Okay, now my thing is this. You probably be able to answer this question. Aren't they going to come with the whole self-defense thing? Because aren't they going to say, well, my client was standing stationary by the truck, and then here comes, what's the man's name that passed away?
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery. Here comes Ahmaud Arbery. He comes around the truck, and he approaches my client, and then they get into a fight, and then he has to shoot, or the gun goes off. He didn't really shoot. So isn't that going to be a hurdle that they got to jump over, the whole self-defense thing? Because if they say self-defense, then that's pretty much it. It can't be no murder or anything like that if self-defense is a thing they can't get beyond.
Right. It's going to be the aggravated assault. So if they're what they're saying, and I don't know why they're saying this. I don't know if they have more information that we haven't seen yet. They are trying to say that Travis McMichael pointed the gun at Ahmaud Arbery, which is aggravated assault. And then there's a scuffle. So in the self-defense law, you cannot claim self-defense after you have aggravated or created a circumstance. Now, here's the teaser here, or here's where they're going to have a problem on the Arbery side, is because who actually started the self-defense situation? Ahmaud Arbery is the one that ran towards the guy with the shotgun who's standing there. He started the fight with the shotgun. So it's going to be a hard hurdle to climb to say that Ahmaud Arbery was in fear for his life and that the McMichaels initiated a self-defense claim. It's going to be more reasonable, I think, in the court of law to say that Travis McMichael had no intentions of even shooting Ahmaud Arbery. He never pointed the gun at Ahmaud Arbery, and Ahmaud Arbery attacked him while he had the gun in his hand, which is his constitutional right to open carry. And that scuffle led to Travis McMichael feeling like he had to defend himself. And even in that, they can't tell if Travis pulled the trigger. So if at any point it's ambiguous who pulled the trigger, then it's going to be also ambiguous as to intent, which is going to be easier to prove a self-defense claim. So it's not going to look that good for Mr. Ahmaud Arbery. Derrick, go ahead.
I have a question for you, B, along those lines when we talk about court. Okay, so in the Arbery situation, I want you to imagine another situation, another ending happening, okay? Let's say the same exact thing happens and Arbery and the gentleman get into the tussle, right? Now, Arbery could argue he's fearing for his life. Let's say Arbery is able to wrestle the gun. Like this the same scenario. It's a double. It's like whoever wins this wrestles the gun and shoots him and claims self-defense. In your opinion, as an officer, would that be stand up in court? Because if it does, then it might go the other way. Like you might be legit at a point where two people are wrestling for the gun. Let's say Arbery got that gun shot because he feared for his life. Because I feel there would be a lot of people who would protest and say, well, we standing up for Arbery here because he thought he was going to die. So he wrestled the gun and shot.
Yeah, so what it's going to come down to is if Travis McMichael pointed the gun at Ahmaud Arbery. That's going to be the crux. If they have evidence that Travis McMichael pointed the gun at Ahmaud Arbery without provocation, then the McMichaels are going to get charged and they're going to go to prison for life or for a very long time. If we have not seen any evidence of them pointing the gun. If there is no evidence of them pointing the gun, the initiator of the altercation would have been Ahmaud Arbery. So if the gun is pointed, they're going to determine that Travis McMichael was the initiator, and then Ahmaud Arbery saw a gun pointed at him and he fought for his life. If there was no gun pointed, or they can't prove that a gun was pointed beyond a reasonable doubt, then they're going to say Ahmaud Arbery had no reason to start fighting a man for his gun, and Travis McMichael had every reason to defend himself. Damani, you want to jump here?
Hold on, right quick. How about this? If you have Ahmaud Arbery running towards the McMichaels and then they brandish the gun, would it be the same situation as far as if you point the gun, you go into the penitentiary, or would that be self-defense because of the charging? How would that work?
Yeah, it's gonna be that real gray area. So if Ahmaud Arbery is running around the truck and he begins to beeline directly at Travis McMichael, see, there's a level of threatening deadly force. Here's the thing that people may not understand when it comes to deadly force. There's different levels of deadly force that you can use with a gun or a knife or whatever. If you point a gun at somebody, that is a threat of deadly force. It's not a use of deadly force. It's a threat of deadly force. So if somebody's running at you, and in the state of Georgia, you have stand your ground laws, you have no duty to retreat laws, and you have, self-defense laws. If a person is running at you, you can threaten them with deadly force. That does not mean you can use it, but you can threaten them. You can pull a gun on somebody that's running at you in an aggressive manner, and you can say, hey, man, stop or I'm going to shoot you. That's very different than if Ahmaud Arbery is just running along the side trying to escape, and you pull a gun on him, and he's not in a threatening manner, or you can't articulate that he's being an aggressor towards you. So that's going to be the difference maker, is if Ahmaud was running at him, if the gun is lifted, or if Ahmaud is running at him, attack him with the gun down, those are going to be in favor of McMichael. If Ahmaud is running, they just lift the gun on him, threatening him for no reason, threatening with deadly force as he's running away, and then he feared for his life, that's going to be in Ahmaud Arbery's favor. So let me answer a few super chats. There's There's a guy named Randy that just asked his super chat. We got so many super chats, y'all. I can't keep up with them. Fort Worth here, 59-year-old white guy. Love hearing the Jesus love. It gives me hope for the future after us old dudes are gone. God bless. God bless you. There was another young lady, Linda. Thanks so much for the super chat. A sticker. I think I gave Linda some credit before. Somebody gave a super chat for just saying Jesus. Okay, it was somebody that did it. I missed it. But if you're watching, thank you for your super chat. I think it was a $50 super chat saying, or it was a super chat that was saying, I want a super chat just because y'all mentioned Jesus. So we definitely appreciate that. Let me get to this gentleman here with the $59 super chat. Let's see. American Dad Life. Thanks so much for the super chat. Grew up poor, busted my butt every day to become rich. Every day I'm told I am the problem for everything in this country, and my success due to privilege puts hate in your heart. Is society's aware of the constant bashing and its potential backlash. So my reading is terrible. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain what I believe the gentleman is saying. Pretty much what he's saying is that he ain't a subject of white privilege, busted his butt to become wealthy, and all of this hatred against white people that I see and many other people see on a day-to-day basis. Are people aware of the consequences of this bashing against white people and this perpetuation that white people are the problem in society and that they live on this privilege? So let me go to you, Damani. Damani, what do you think about the way white privilege is presented and how it's open season on saying that white people are the problem in America?
Yeah, the whole white privilege notion really it's an easy way out for people who, in my view, tend to lack the aspiration or personal motivation to effect their own positive change. Here in America, we are a land where we call it the land of opportunity for a reason. There are so many things that you can do if you apply yourself to them. The problem, though, is specifically the way the Black community views the white community with the whole white privilege argument is we have to roll it back and realize, where does it start? I believe it starts with the culture. I believe we need to start training our young people to aspire to become doctors and lawyers where they aspire to be athletes and entertainers. If we do that, then we're going to allow them to open and not have such a narrow scope of what success looks like. Because there are people from all walks of life who have done great things in the African-American community specifically, but the average child doesn't really know very much about them if they're growing up in the inner city. And that's just because they never were told about these other people. And whenever you aspire to pattern your lifestyle after someone who demonstrably goes out of their way, like for rappers, entertainers who talk about denigrating women, who talk about denigrating the police, and talk about how you're always down and out, they breed this internal resentment in the minds of the youth. And then when the youth are actually able to grow up and become adults themselves, they've already latched onto this lie that they are automatically underprivileged. And when they do that, then they kind of hamstring themselves at that point. So I think we need to roll it back and say we need to start teaching more of our African-American youth that success doesn't have to look like being a professional athlete or being an entertainer. Success can be whatever you want it to be if you apply yourself. And there are so many resources out there for you to take advantage of. There are so many old white people who have privilege, apparently, who are sitting there waiting with money to give minority students scholarships to go to college. But guess what? You got to pick up the pen. You got to start typing on the keyboard and tell them why you deserve that money. And until we have more African-American people who are telling their children, this is the way up. You're not going to be that 0.01% that makes it the NFL, but guess what? You can be one of the 10% of people who can be a doctor or a lawyer or what have you. That barrier to success is a lot lower when you are able to have realistic expectations based on a plethora of opportunities that are out there for the average person if they're just willing to take the opportunities that are extended out to them.
100%. Miss Bates, thanks so much for the super chat. $50 super chat. Says she loved me and ABL, and she just kind of got introduced to you other fine gentlemen. I want you guys also to promote your super chat, not super chats, but to promote your social media again. I'm gonna do a round to go through because I want people to know who you are, because people are watching you, they listen to you, but they don't know where to find y'all. So ABL, where can they find you at?
The best thing to do is search the 3 letters on YouTube, ABL. I come right on up. Everything is right there. Also, go to my website, AnthonyBLogan.com. That is ANTHONY, the letter B, LOGAN.com. Everything is on there. My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, All of it is right there, one convenient little spot. And all the articles on there, those was written by me. Read them, good stuff in there. A lot of good info that you can't get on the YouTubes or on social media on the website. Check it out.
All right, Susan, thanks so much for the super chat. Damani, where can they find you?
Yeah, real quick. Facebook, Damani Bryant Felder. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at the Damani Felder, and YouTube at the Wright Brothers, or just type my name, Damani Felder, into YouTube, and my channel will pop right up.
Mr. Derrick, where can they find you?
It's the same thing. Facebook, Derrick Gradenigo, as you see on the page. Instagram, Derrick Gradenigo. Twitter, it is at D Gradenigo, just the letter D and Gradenigo, as you see on the page. And YouTube, you can look under Derrick Gradenigo as well.
Awesome, man. I want to thank everybody for the super chat. I may not have been able to get to you. Maybe one day. Derrick can't get right. Derrick leaving his thing on his echo and every time, boy. Derrick remind me of my son. I gotta tell him every time, boy, go do this. I'm messing with you, bro. But what I was gonna say, thank everybody for the super chats. I want to just say it. If I haven't been able to get to you, charge it to my head, not my heart. I got to figure out a better way to do this. Maybe ABL can teach me how to get these super chats all lined up, because on the software that I'm using, they like disappear and then it's slow to adjust. But just know that I'm saying thank you on behalf of all of us here. All of the super chats, we are going to share them. So when you bless the super chats, you're blessing everybody on here. Thanks for the love. A person just wrote on here about that the three white men hunted down Ahmaud Arbery in cold blood, pretty much what he's saying. And was Ahmaud Arbery supposed to just surrender to these three racist white men? I want to go through real quick on y'all thoughts on that, because there was a narrative that came out in the beginning that Ahmaud was just jogging and these three racist white men in Georgia was looking for a black man to hunt down, and they ran the boy down and they shot him because they thought he was somebody else. What is your thought on that, ABL? Like, what do you think about that claim that these were three racist white men just killing a black man for no reason?
Man, I think we got to look at the whole situation to see what's going on. I mean, we saw the tape of him. He was not jogging. He was just walking through the neighborhood. And then he pauses right there before he goes into the house, looks around, and then jets inside. I mean, right there, you got something suspicious going on. Now, I'm not saying that he stole anything, that he was necessarily a criminal, but you see something suspicious going on. He wasn't just some kind of random guy going through the neighborhood. Obviously, it was something going on. So it wasn't really like that. Now, I said in my video, they might have been a little bit overzealous to go try to, chase him down or whatever. That's just my opinion. But as far as it being like, oh, racist white man trying to just attack a random black man, that's not what this was. God was in the crib. We knew he shouldn't have been there, because when they said, hey, when they started him, he ran out. Now, if I'm just browsing open houses, which I've never done before, I've never gone into a house that was being constructed that was not my own. Like, hey, I wonder what's going on. Some have done that. I've never done that. But anyway, if that's what he was doing, he was just, browsing around, seeing what's going on. Why would he run away? So he was being suspicious. It wasn't like he was just a random person. So this whole thing about, they chased him down, it was a racist attack and the Klan, all this and that and the third, that's not what it was. Was it overzealous? Maybe, but some kind of racist attack against a random black guy trying to jog, all this and that and the third, that's not what it was. And when it's characterized like that, people get the wrong impression, like that's all the time going on. LeBron James said it. You can't go out your house without being hunted down like a dog. If you're a black man, that's just totally false. It's not a real thing that we go through.
Awesome. What do you think, Damani?
Yeah, no. The thing is, there's always more information. In the video my brother and I put out on YouTube, we were talking about how it's always important to remain pragmatic and wait for more facts to emerge. And when you look at it, it doesn't matter how you slice it. Even if someone said, hey, what are you doing? Your gut instinct should not be to turn tail and sprint off down the street. If you're just like, hey, I'm just checking out this construction site, then that's a different story. Now, I agree with ABL that, the McMichaels did act potentially overzealously. Maybe they misinterpreted the laws as they were written on the Georgia books. But I think if there's any place we need to focus our attention, it's on the laws that might allow possibly a citizen to come off half-cocked and think that the law has their back in the first place. So yes, people did do something that was too aggressive in this case, and that resulted in a tragedy. But at the end of the day, we have to look back at Why did they think they had the right to do that in the first place? And then why did Ahmaud Arbery cut and run instead of explaining what he was doing in the first place? So this whole situation could have been mitigated if both sides had handled things a little bit more differently.
Derrick, what's your thoughts, man?
Real quick, I want to touch on something that my two brothers on another angle of this, and kind of go back to the initial question. The initial question was, do we expect him to just allow this to happen, allow him to be kind of citizen's arrest, or allow him to submit? And my response is 100%. You hear a lot, and I blame our media. I blame whether it's rap or whatever we got going on right now. That times aren't like the Cosby Show in a different world, because a lot of times we say it's time to keep it real. When you're in that situation, it's time to keep it real. Go for the gun. Don't submit. I'm telling people right now, these rappers, these actors, if they're caught in a situation, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, because even in LA, we know it as getting caught slipping. If a gang or something catches you slipping, you just caught slipping and you submit. You got to give up your shoes. You got to give up your wallet. But at the end of the day, the job is to survive the encounter. It is your job to survive the encounter, period. I don't care if you got to give up your shoes, your socks, because you get to live to talk about this. So let's say you survive the encounter, this bad stuff happens, but you got a video on it or something later. You live to fight another day. The problem is we have a lot of people out here doing a whole lot of talking about keeping it real and blah, blah. I said this before in the beginning of this. Nobody's going to put on your tombstone, here lies so-and-so, they died, but they kept it real. Like, no, that's not going to work. I want to see y'all live. Don't listen to these people. When somebody has you caught slipping, whether it's the cops, whether it's a gang, whether it's 4 dudes who caught you in the alley, it don't matter. At the end of the day, you have a choice. Submit if you could survive. And then you survive to live another day. You don't just sit here and run at somebody or say that they got 5 guns on one. I'm gonna do a Wesley Snipes and Passenger 57, because that doesn't work in real life. It doesn't work. You submit, you give up your shoes, you give up your wallet, you got caught slipping, and you survive the encounter. Do not let these rappers and these entertainers convince you of anything otherwise.
Perfect, man. That's great, man. I love the discussion that we're having. I think we can do this more often. You know, I want us to do this on a more consistent basis. If you guys are down, I'll try to bring more people if y'all got other individuals. And I also want to do some where I get one of y'all and then we talk to people who may disagree with us so we can get perspectives. ABL, no, we were on another guy's live stream, O'Shea. O'Shea used to do this all the time. He used to bring on liberals and we used to have a really, really good discussion. So I kind of wanted to do something similar to that and also give other people opportunities to be heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, Damani, they just started a YouTube channel. They're growing. Derrick, you know, ABL is already up there, but there's some people that haven't heard of ABL that follow me and vice versa. So I think this gives everybody an opportunity to kind of get a little more love, for people to hear you, hear your voice, hear some positivity, and we'll continue to do this. I'll say this. I'm going to end it here. Thank everybody that super chatted. Y'all, you know, we gonna share the super chats and the love together. Thank everybody for watching. Stay tuned because we're gonna do this more often and we're gonna have more discussions about other topics. So I'm gonna finish it off and I'm gonna let each person give their last final thoughts. And this is not Tommy Lahren, but you can give your final thoughts on whatever you want to say, however long you want to say it. I'll give you your chance to give your final thought. Give your social media at the end of your final thought. And then we're gonna bounce. I'll start with Derrick. Derrick, tell us what you feel, and then give me your social media at the end.
I just want to say 100%. I was kind of gazing at the comments, and I appreciate all of y'all. And we definitely need to do this more often. I feel like God is in this room right now, and this is long overdue. Having this kind of camaraderie and y'all getting to visualize it and see where we're coming from. That way you can see a lot of the talk that people do when they try to say, well, you feel this way, you feel that way. That's not true. A lot of times we agree with everything. We agree with that it was wrong what happened to Mr. Arbery. We agree that it's wrong what happened in Minnesota. But we are in the business of also trying to protect the man that's going to die tonight. And we trying to protect the man that's going to die tomorrow. And the only way we do that is problem solving. Like I said, Bobby Seale, co-founder of the Black Panthers, he's like, all this marching and all this singing, we already did that in the 70s. It's time for us to get an agenda. And the only way we win is if we get this agenda and bring it forward in actions, tangible currency. You know what I mean? I want to thank everybody out there. My Facebook is Derrick Gradenigo. My Instagram is Derrick Gradenigo. My Twitter is @DGradenigo. You can look for me at YouTube at Derrick Gradenigo. And one more thing before I go, I want to give a massive shout out to my boy in Texas, Alan West, who was in a motorcycle accident, and he's recovering right now. And we thankful he's recovering, and we hope the best for him. We know he's already on the mend, and he's going to be back in a week or two because he's a soldier and that's what he is. But we can't have this without shouting him out. So I want to shout him out and tell him much love, and I'll see y'all next time. And I'm going to get on Brandon when I leave. We need to do this weekly. I think we need to do this weekly, man.
Bro, we will definitely do this weekly. If y'all down, if y'all respond to that Twitter, to that email. I'm with it.
Matter of fact, do a podcast too. Do it as like this here, but then upload the audio as a podcast. Put it on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. It's gonna go for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I gotta call you because you the smart one, bro. You out of me and you the smart one. I be watching your stuff and I'm like, dang, man, I need to step my game up. I don't know what I be doing. All right, so I'm gonna go to you, Damani. Whatever your final thoughts are, tell people where to find you after you finish.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thanks for having me, Brandon. I'm honored to be here with all three of y'all. I know all three of these guys personally. I know they put in work. I know they work really hard, and y'all who are watching are the ones who keep us going. I just want to say at the end of the day, think critically. Don't allow your emotions to dictate your reaction to any situation. Do your due diligence. That's the most important thing you can do. And the thing is, whenever you have situations like George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and others, whenever you don't initially know the full story, then your own biases are going to fill in the blanks. So be very mindful of that, because if you're going to operate off of assumptions and things that you don't know, then you're going to come off as looking less than reputable. So that's all I would say. Is I'd encourage you to just continue to do your due diligence, continue to do your research, think critically, and don't be afraid to take an unpopular stand. I know all three of these guys on here with me. We got your back. If you're going to step out and be bold like we are, we're here for you as much as you're here for us. And we appreciate y'all. You can find me on YouTube once again at that's Instagram. You can find me on YouTube at the Wright Brothers. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at the Damani Felder, Facebook at Damani Bryant Felder, and I'm actually also on Parler at the Damani Felder as well. But I appreciate y'all. Y'all be blessed.
All right, ABL. What you got, bro? And I want all of y'all to stay on the chat after I end the live because we have a quick talk. But ABL, what's your last thoughts?
All right.
Man?
Hey, I really enjoyed this. This is a great thing. Like I said, we got to do it more often. It's good to have all of us on here because we have like a similar viewpoint, but at the same time different. We're not all the same people. And it's good to see that because people think that we all think the same, we all act the same, but we're different. We're human beings. We're not going to be like the same. We have differences. So I'm glad that we're here. We're glad that we're doing it. And to everybody that's out there listening, everybody out there watching, I suggest everybody read more, whether it's books, whether it's the news, everything. When you're watching cable news, they're putting their spin on it. They got the Don Lemons of the world. You got your, what's my man's name? Andrew Cuomo, CNN, MS13, DNC. All these stations are going to put a little spin on it, a little 2 cents on it. But once you read what's going on, then you'll be able to get the better picture. It's like reading the book versus watching the movie. When you read the book, you get all the details, everything that's not in the movie. The movie is editorialized. It's Hollywoodized, if that's the word. They do the same thing when you're talking about the news. So read. That's my advice to you. If anybody's in your family, they're not liking you conservative or whatever, it's okay. Don't, hit them over the head with conservatism. Just be your normal self. If they don't like what's going on, that's okay. Maybe they'll come around at a certain point, but don't get too far into trying to beat them over the head. So that's my advice for right now. I got some more advice later when we do some more podcasts and whatnot together, but that's pretty much it. If you want to find me, go to YouTube. Best thing to do is to search 3 letters. I'll come right on up, ABL. Also, go to the website. I implore you to do that because if I do a story about Ahmaud Arbery or anybody like that, there are some things I can't put on YouTube, but they'll always be on the website. So you get the full scope of what's happening. Like I said, read. You'll be able to see all of what's going on. So that's pretty much all I got. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
For sure, ABL. So I'm gonna read last 2 super chats because these people decided to come out their pocketbook for some questions. So I don't even know how to say her name. Is it LeVay? Y'all see her super chat? The $99 super chat. Can you see the super chat? I think her name is LeVay. I'm just gonna say LeVay. If it ain't your name, then God bless you. Thanks so much for the super chat. Let's see. Black conservatives work as a team by showing unity. Think big. Use your influence with the president, not to boast about it, but to counter the left narrative. Team up. Go into these communities. Communities. I appreciate it. Let's see where my boy at. Mark, thanks so much for the super chat. Great chat. Black society needs to hear this. Would you play Just For You by Mark Crowder for your listeners? I don't have that song. Just For You. I love you, man, but I ain't prepared to put no song on here yet without me listening to it. Y'all know who it is? Y'all know who Mark Crowder is?
Nah, but it might be copyrighted. You don't want to get, flagged on your channel.
Man, the whole thing off here. I almost forgot that. So anyway, I guess my last thoughts is, man, thank everybody for coming on here, man. I love it when we can come together. Even though we have differences, we don't agree with everything, but we come together because at the end of the day, we all brothers. Not brothers because we black, brothers because we all children of God, in my opinion. Brothers because we all love each other and appreciate each other and we got each other's back. That's pretty much what it is. I think everybody said some great things. You need to read. You need to be knowledgeable. Don't jump to the first opinion. Don't just believe us. Go out and do your research. And that's when you can know who to trust and who you can't trust, is when you do your research and you validate what Damani says. You validate what Derrick says. You validate what ABL and B. Tatum say. And then therefore you will know, okay, I can trust them individuals because they're operating with facts. They're not operating out of emotion. So anyway, I love y'all. Thank y'all for coming on. ABL, y'all stay here. All the people that's watching, God bless you. No, hold on. Before we leave, can I say a quick prayer? Is that cool? Is everybody cool? And even if y'all watching, if y'all don't believe in God, you can I don't know, do the power in the atmosphere if you want to. But I'm gonna pray real quick because I think it's necessary that we say a quick prayer real quick. I ain't gonna waste your time. Lord, thank you for blessing us, waking us up again, giving us a new opportunity, a new day to serve you. God, we know that you're sovereign over all things. And when we have issues, we come to you because we know that you can hear us and that you can feel our pain and you understand the sincerity of our hearts. God, we pray right now for the President of the United States. Pray that you bless him to open his mind, to have him do what's right according to your word. We pray for politicians on both sides, whether Democrat or Republican. We pray for individuals who support us and who do not. We pray, God, that you give them a spirit of kindness, a spirit of love, a spirit of unity. Pray for those in Minneapolis. We pray for people all over the country, God. Allow your spirit to be in, your spirit to guide them. God, we pray that we forgive others as others, that we request others that forgive us. God, bless those who are sick and are less fortunate. Bless all of the individuals who supported this channel, either by super chats or being participants who shared this video. God, I pray you bless them accordingly, bless them according to their faith and their sacrifice. We pray all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Thank you, brothers, for coming on. Y'all stay here. I love y'all on YouTube. We'll see you next week.